behind him, and in front of him. Some people advance, others go back. There was quite some confusion, which facilitated our advance through the Schnee Eifel toward Schönberg. I met the first prisoners at noon on December 18th, on my way from the northern part of the Schnee Eifel via Bleialf to Schönberg. I must say they seemed rather confused. The questioning of young people confirmed that this was a division which apparently had been newly assembled, or at least contained a great number of men with no war experience.
Oder zumindest mit einer großen Anzahl von kriegsunerfahrenen Leuten hier in Stellung war.
The
operation had been initiated according to schedule. The 7th Army, attacking from the Eifel front, gained a considerable amount of terrain. The 5th Panzer Army, advancing north of the 7th Army, had also gained some ground, especially since they had apparently managed to surprise the Americans along the entire front.
On the morning of the 17th, word reached St. Vith of a German penetration coming from the east toward Colonel Riggs' position.
The division commander asked me to ordered me, as a matter of fact, to set up a defense line astride the Schönberg-St. Vith road, to hold that road for the promised counterattack of the 7th Armored, and as an escape route for our 2 infantry regiments to the front.
The armor that might have relieved Colonel Riggs, General Hogue's combat command, had passed through St. Vith at dawn, heading southeast, on its mission to attack Winterspelt. The 7th Armored Division had left Holland before dawn, but its destination was Bastogne. There, General Hasbrouck arrived well ahead of his columns, only to learn that the trouble was somewhere else.
I proceeded from Bastogne to St. Vith and joined General Clark, who had arrived there sometime previously, and we found the situation rather desperate to the east of St. Vith. Smoke and noise coming from the woods about 2 miles east of St. Vith indicated German tanks were there, and the only American troops between these Germans and the town of St. Vith was a company of the 168th Engineers of the 106th Division.
Well, I arrived at St. Vith at 10:30 in the morning, and General Jones needed help.
Yes.
Then the problem was to get my command that was marching behind me turned off at Vielsalm to come to St. Vith. Well, my greatest problem on the 17th of December was confusion and traffic on the road.
Oh.
Your initial success on the 16th of December had started a lot of vehicles like supply vehicles, extra headquarters vehicles, and service vehicles going to the rear.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
This became so severe at the road junction to the west of St. Vith that I had to go out and play military policeman and direct the traffic to get it flowing to the front. And I'm sure that you had the same problem, because there's only one road from Prim towards St. Vith through the Ardennes.
Genau die gleiche Situation, General. Ich war am 17. Nachmittag.
Exactly the same situation, General. On the afternoon of the 17th, I was on my way to Schönberg in a small vehicle, and I had to dismount because it was impossible for me to get ahead on this road. I then walked toward the front and tried to make myself useful as a military policeman. It was hopeless to try to untangle this column of vehicles, when suddenly I heard someone calling in a very loud voice. Way up at the front, I thought I saw a military policeman, and I approached him. I saw that it was my superior, Field Marshal Model, who had the same intention as I. So we continued our efforts together and tried to separate the column, but until nightfall on the 17th, a certain confusion and perplexity remained, since we were not able to separate the vehicles.
Of course, General, you realize as well as anybody does that battle is organized confusion.
Yes.
Or at least the job of the general is to see that the confusion is not too disorganized.
One human element in the confusion was 7th Armored Division Private Bill Dassinger.
Sometime in December, we were going down this country road, and all of a sudden we come upon this great confusion. Jeeps, trucks, men, equipment, going the opposite way. Well, you stop to think, what are we getting ourselves into? And a little while later on, we sure found out.
Another was Lieutenant Will Rogers, Jr.
St. Vith, down a little kind of a side road. Now, at this particular time, the roads were jam-packed with traffic, all kinds of vehicles coming out of St. Vith. And we had to fight our way very slowly, mile after dreary mile, against this one-way stream of traffic. We arrived at a little town of Poteau, which is a little crossroads Belgian village of about, 10 or 12 small Belgian village farmhouses.
7th Armored Division Colonel V.L. Boylan was returning from Paris after a 3-day pass.
We came back in a Mercedes sedan, which belonged to the commanding general at the time. And when we hit a crossroad where we would cut north to Holland to rejoin our units, we saw an armored column moving south and cutting to the east. It looked familiar, so we dismounted, went over and talked to the military police, and found out it was our own division. Nobody would tell us where it was going, so we decided to follow it.
The armored columns, like hundreds, thousands of other troops and vehicles on the 17th of December, was approaching St. Vith, Belgium. Converging from every direction, some came in pain and panic, some in cheerful confusion, some in desperate urgency. From the east, battered remnants of the 106th fought back toward friendly lines. From the south, units of the 28th Division were withdrawing before assaults of a magnitude no one could explain. And from north and west, the 7th Armored Division struggled on. Their arrival awaited with mounting impatience by General Clark in St. Vith. Why this particular town? Why St. Vith?
Ja, das ist schon erklärlich. St. Vith ist an und für sich ein sehr kleiner
St.
Ort.
Vith is really a very small place, and then it gained this tremendous significance. When planning the attack on St. Vith, we knew that it had to be captured at all costs, since it represented a traffic center, a junction of many, some 6-8 roads, which cannot be bypassed. St. Vith had to be taken because all reserves which tried to attack the northern flank of my army, or the 6th Army in the north, had to come through St. Vith, just as you did. We were therefore very conscious of the importance of St. Vith and had planned its capture on the 17th of December.
Waren wir uns der Bedeutung von St. Vith sehr bewusst und hatten in meine Rechnung eingestellt, es am 17th December, St. Vith zu nehmen.
And I proceeded to leave and to join my unit at St. Vith. Unfortunately, I was unable to join it that night. We were shot off 2 of the roads and returned and left early the next morning.
And I saw that we couldn't get on to St. Vith that night. So we went to sleep in a hayloft over what was apparently a dairy.
The rest of that night was spent still waiting for the 7th Armored Division and reinforcing our position.
General Clark formed a defense east of St. Vith as fast as the troops arrived. They were fed piecemeal into this defensive line.
And I fed them into the point of the horseshoe, which was being held by Colonel Riggs and others to the east of St. Vith. This went on practically all during the afternoon and night, and all of my troops didn't close into the St. Vith area until 3 o'clock the next morning.
Sunday night, we were fighting desperately to get ourselves in a horseshoe arc position around the town. This area was the nearest to the enemy, the eastern approaches, about 2,000 yards east of the town. American troops under the command of the 7th Armored Division attempting to hold the town away from them. I am Colonel Don Boyer, United States Army, at that time Major 38th Armored Infantry Battalion, 17 December 1944.
The first arrivals were the reconnaissance troop of the 7th Armored, which I immediately deployed with their automatic weapons in this skirmish line that we'd established, but placed them on the left side, overlooking the open field of fire, where they could better utilize their automatic weapons. The rest of that day was spent assembling any other support we could find. Included in that support, by the way, were some medium tanks that we were able to secure from the 9th Armored Division.
8 o'clock, Monday morning, 18 December, we were hit with our first attack. The Germans punched a hole in our lines. We counterattacked and restored the lines. 2 tanks knocked out, 1 assault gun destroyed were the enemy losses in this attack. Between 11:30 and 12:30 on that Monday, the Germans again attacked us. At the end of an hour, our lines still held, but we had started the long roll of losses.
The Battle of the Bulge had begun. More than 50 German columns were now attacking through the Ardennes. There were penetrations everywhere. South of Saint-Vith, the 28th Division was split. Chaos ruled to the east, where most of the 106th was surrounded. General von Manteuffel's forces were approaching Saint-Vith itself from 3 sides. At stake was not simply a town, but the timetable of the Ardennes counteroffensive. And it was already 1 irrecoverable day behind. Next, part 2 of the battle at Saint-Vith.